Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Basics of Life. My name's Ken Burkey, and next to me is John Loera, and he has a topic about pace of life and about slowing down. So we got to hurry this up and get this show over.
In 2 minutes.
so we're gonna. No, glad you're here. And
glad to be here.
This is a great topic. I've heard you speak on it before. You just recently spoke on it again.
Yeah.
We live in such a fast-paced culture.
Yeah.
In a culture that makes you almost feel guilty if you're not moving
Right.
at the speed of
Right.
light all the time.
Right. Right.
And not just the culture, but religion, in any walk of life. It just seems like life is speeding up, and the needs are out there, and there's this guilt factor. I gotta go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And it seems like our souls are becoming weary because of the speed.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because they were interviewing a guy. I saw a program some time ago that they were interviewing a sociologist that was saying, he used this phrase that says our culture has become addicted to speed. Mm-hmm. And he's not talking about the drug, it's the pace of life. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about technology even in that, though technology isn't the only reason for this, about how it has shifted our culture over the last 30 years and the boundaries and the borders between life and home and how we communicate and how we rest and how we don't rest, how we do all of these things. They've totally eroded. And there's great stuff about that,
mm-hmm.
Because technology is great, but there's also huge challenges in terms of the pace of our lives,
mm-hmm.
Because everything around our lives now is built and marketed around time saving.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, the question comes back to, has it really, or does it really save us time, or is it also, are we filling that time with more stuff, and is it really feeding this addiction that we all have to, we want it now? I mean, think about even the way we communicate with texting, and so, the immediacy of it is great,
mm-hmm.
but it also keeps us in this state more so, and So he was just talking about, how do we actually in this culture, we talk about it a lot, and I'll say it just, because we talk about legacy a lot, and relationships, are the greatest legacy that we have, and how we have them, how we interact with them. And a busy life is actually one of the challenges, is it affects our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because how often or how much time are we able to put into those important relationships in our life, whether it's with God or it's with our families or our friendships or whatever it is, and we fight that challenge of balancing that with the busyness of life.
Yeah, and I think too, it ends up, it ends up, our souls just become so tired that we miss out on joy, we miss out on the wonder of the moment.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think, technology's time-saving devices are great, but then we just, I got more time, so we
cram more stuff in there. And I had a friend that told me something one time. There's busyness is a given in life. We're going to have that. But there's a difference between busyness and being hurried. Mm-hmm. And the difference being is, busyness is an external calendar issue. Mm-hmm. Hurried is an internal thing. Mm-hmm. Hurried is, I can be standing still and my mind going 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. I can have distractions and stress and anxiety and depressions inside. And I had a friend tell me this one time in a point in my life where I had so much going on in my life, and he was a kind of a mentor guy, loved him. And I was trying to get okay, give me some advice on how I can slow down. And his one thing to me was, John, he says, you got to ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. And my response was, okay, what else? That's good, what else? And he said it again. He said, you have to, it's not going to, some of it's slowing down the external busyness, but some of it is the internal thing as well, is that hurriedness that takes you out of the moment, that creates that place where we can't have depth and connection with people.
I think it's coming to that realization that we weren't created to be hurrying all the time. That we're almost made to feel guilty for resting.
Right.
There's that old story of the explorer. He's going to go explore new lands, and he's got like a Native American with him who's the guide, and they're going and they're making great time, and all of a sudden they get ready to go again, and they look, and the guide won't get up. He's like, well, come on, we got to go. He goes, no, I'm staying here until my soul catches up with me.
Exactly.
And I think we live in a culture where our souls are so far behind the pace that we are going.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like if you don't, you have to, in our culture, you almost feel guilty, like, I'll sit at home and you think, oh, I should be doing this stuff. Or the other side of it is there's ego tied to that with certain people, because the how you doing response is so often, oh, I'm busy.
Right.
Oh, it's almost
That's
like here's a status. Wow, you must be important because you're so busy or so capable. And these things are such misnomers, because the diminishing returns is our relationships suffer, true relationships.
Right.
So I was just talking about some things that we could go through quickly that are really, really practical, basic things to get rid of hurry in your life. And the interesting thing is they're easy to say, but doing them is a whole different thing.
Right. Right.
Really.
Can I say just a couple of things before you get to that to help us? I think there's a couple of reasons why we stay busy. One, what you already talked about, status. Nobody wants, hey, Ken, how are you doing? And I go, hey, I'm doing great, man. I got a good pace in my life. I've had a lot of good downtime. That doesn't sound very... I think the second thing, which is huge, and maybe you're going to address this, is we're almost afraid to slow down.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to have to reflect. We're going to have to feel. We're going to have to actually. And so I think we're almost afraid to go to these deep places. And so I'll just stay busy. I know people like that all the time.
Oh yeah, me too.
And you just move, and because it's scary to slow down.
I was just talking to somebody about that lost a close person in their lives, and it finally they just were so busy for several months, and it finally hit the wall to say, that exact conversation, the person was like, I was just afraid to slow down and feel, and it's almost an avoidance, because it's hard to do that, and it's painful, it's important, but it is almost it
does get easier if you do it more.
Absolutely.
But man, when you first start that, if you've been on an adrenaline rush of going, that first time of slowing, it's scary.
It's tough.
But it does get easier, it really does. So,
it does.
So talk about how can you help us, or what are some thoughts about becoming unhurried?
Well, quickly, like I said, I'll go through them fast because they're pretty basic, but again, easier said than done. The first one is just simply you got to decide what's important in your life. I mean, that sounds, we want to do a lot of things and have a lot of things in our life. If you look at the average person, between family and friends and kids activities and sports and hobbies, you name it, good stuff. Yeah. But it's just across the board. And I use the analogy like if you were doing a budget financially and you know how much money you have coming in, you sit down and go, I only have this much money. These are the no-brainers I have to pay at the end of the month. And time is even more of that, because we know its limit. Everybody's on this equal standing when it comes to time in our life, and we have to be realists about what is important in our lives. So in other words, if you say, hey, my relationships are important in my life, my relationship with God and with my spouse or my kids or my friendships, you go, I only have so much time to spend. I can say they're important, but do my actions of quality time reflect that they are the important things in my life? Because I can say a lot of things are important, I can touch them, all of them, just a little bit. But I think we have to be more honest than that says, hey, if these are important, that's got to be protected more than anything else.
That's good.
And it's easy not to do that, and then you kind of fool yourself. I know I have in the past, where you kind of fool yourself to go, yeah, they're important to me. Right. But I'm just really not, I'm just scratching the surface,
Well, I think so that it's giving people permission to say no to good things.
It's the second one.
Oh, okay.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect timing, because it goes right into that. You have to decide what's important, and then you have to protect it by learning to say no. Because again, we are a society that's addicted to speed, and one of the other big reasons is we say yes to a lot of stuff. I know me, I'm the worst at this. I mean, I joke with people, because in this sense, I'm a yes man, because I say yes, and then after I regret, you ever do that? Where you go, okay, I'll do that, and then I find myself constantly going, why did I say yes to that?
I think we're all bad at that.
You don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to, and then my wife.
Or even at the time, it sounds like a good idea.
Sure, I can do
once
that.
It gets there, you realize, well, I just backed this up to 400 other yeses. You
have to get brutal with that, and I think the thing we learn with saying no, sometimes for me, I know is saying yes, is that sometimes I go, I don't want to disappoint somebody, and then I find, well, it's more disappointing after the fact You know, either if I don't come through with it, or I'm disappointing other people around me, because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Even if you don't literally say no, you're saying no to it, because, again, we have to remember we only have so much time, you know.
Wow.
And that's probably the toughest one.
Yeah.
You know, toughest one. And we do that, again, for a lot of reasons. We want to disappoint. We get approval because we don't want people to be disappointed in us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is like, yeah, well, that sounds cool. I can do that. Sure.
Count the cost, though.
Yeah. So you got to say no. Third one is that you have to learn. You got to remove literally distractions in your life. You got to remove distractions. And this is the one I said earlier about whatever that is that gets in the way of us being in the moment with those places we say are important in our life. Things like that. I'm glad you.
Oh, wait, I got a couple of messages.
I got a text.
Yeah.
So I'm the worst at that. So here's the interesting thing, and it goes back to the hurried life versus a busy life.
Oh, hang on. No, I'm kidding.
I'm texting you right now under the table. The hurried life is, like I said earlier, I can be sitting on the couch at home like a couch potato, and my mind's going 100 miles an hour. And what I do, again, one of those things that I'm struggling with technology, which I love, I'll be at home with Barbara, and we'll just, you know, hey, connection. I'll get a text or an email that's work related, and my mind gets right back on the freeway. Look, you know, and it's like those boundaries cross over. Nothing wrong with phones and technology, but having some boundaries about distractions to say. And one of the things we started doing that we challenged, you know, even Green Valley with a bit ago was, hey, take an hour a day, turn off your phone. And don't just turn it off, but take that hour and say, I'm going to invest it in time with a friend or a spouse or one of my kids or my time with God or whatever that is. So to take that hour and put it into, and see how that goes. Yeah. You know, because it's balance. Because it's just, some people don't have a problem with that. Right. Some people, it's way out of, you know, balance.
Right.
You know, they say the average person looks at their smartphone just like you did over 100 times a day.
Oh, I can believe that.
I'm probably guilty of that.
Well, especially now, because you do email, you do everything. You know, you interface all of your, you know.
Oh, everything is there, and it's good stuff. It's just it does go back to the limited time, and you go, it does cannibalize our time. You know. Yeah. And so we're seeing some great results of people sharing stuff about what they've done with that hour and how that was, and you know, I've been trying to do that. And then one disclaimer on that was, hey, but make sure you have to turn it off in waking hours when you're sleeping. We're hoping you do that. Yeah. You know, that's out of the way. Yeah. So, but it's just, and it's not, for some it's not phone, for some it's other things, but it's just trying to say, hey, I just want to have some focused time here. And it's also a discipline of trying to get our minds to slow down, not just our bodies. You know, that hurriedness that causes that stuff.
That's good. That's good.
And then the last one is what we kind of talked about earlier, is if you look at deciding what's important and then learning to say no to protect them, you know, remove those distractions, you know, you gotta press the pause button regularly in your life. And I think that's the hardest one of all.
Yeah.
And
what does that look like when you say that? What does that mean?
Well, I think it looks like a couple of things. Number one is it looks like kind of what I was just saying. It looks like us slowing down physically and mentally and emotionally and recharging. And so it means to say, hey, you know, let's just look at the biblical aspect. You know, it's one of the 10 Commandments that says, remember the Sabbath. I joke, you know, if it makes the top 10 list in God's eyes, it's important, right? And the point about that is that it has to be regular. It's a regular occurrence. And in a Sabbath or a day of rest, doesn't matter when that day is, but it has to be regular. But the important part is, it's not to get everything else done you didn't get in those 6 days, right? Because you're still hurried. It's truly to figure out a way to press the pause button that I can say, hey, do things that energize me. Be around people that energize me. Be with God, or refuel, or read, or write, or rest. Do things that help me to actually slow down my mind in the things that normally keep me in a hurried state, or, you know, obviously physically that keep me in a hurried state. Yeah. That's a hard discipline to do.
It is, and I think there's several ways of doing that. It depends on how you're wired up. For some people, it's, you know, it's to take a walk or to take a hike. For me, it's exercise.
It's a great one because it energizes.
It energizes in something, you know, you're taking care of your body.
Yes.
But it also is taking care of your brain.
Yes.
A lot of good stuff happens to your brain when you're exercising. It also allows you to shut off other obligations at that point. And so it's daily disciplines, it's weekly disciplines.
It is.
It's actually... And it's also yearly disciplines like vacations. The violation of how many Americans haven't taken their vacations is ridiculous.
Crazy.
I don't even know the percentage, but I just saw it on the news. All because, I'm going to feel guilty. I got to keep going. I don't want to. So there's daily obligations, weekly obligations, and kind of yearly obligations.
Yes, too. and I think, you know, you have to make that a priority in your life, and not to feel, you know, people, you know, people got to the point in our culture and work culture, it's like, hey, working 40 hours a week, people would joke, oh, you're a part-timer, you know, because it's that push to, you know, and I'll tell you this, I think people know this, but it is not worth it. It's not worth it. That was not God's plan for us. And, you know, Jesus gave us such a great example of this beautiful rhythm of life. You know, when he was all in, fully engaged. He was busy, but he was never hurried. And it was this rhythm of engagement and withdrawal. Engagement and withdrawal. And it was regular. And I think that that's what's important for us is to, as you just explained about the pause button, is to really find this rhythm. Because our balance and speed is always off balance. Right. And you do have to deal with some of your own personal demons, if you will, on that in terms of feeling guilty or image or whatever that is. But again, I just come back to this thing and go sustainability, quality of life, joy, you know, great relationships. That's what this is all about. And it's like the other part of it is not worth it.
And this is an addiction that does not have a stigma.
No, that's the other problem with it. That's a great point, because people aren't going, oh, you know. You're not hiding that. You're actually doing the opposite of that.
Right. But it's an addiction.
Oh, it is absolutely an addiction. It really is,
and it may be a deeper, stronger hold kind of addiction than I think we realize.
Yeah.
I like what you said though about Jesus, where you know the engage, retreat, because you know we need to follow our passions, we need to give our all, we need to give our best, but we also need to learn how to retreat and refuel, and part of that is again going back to we have to learn how to be comfortable with that.
Right.
To learn how to
your own,
to be in your own space and to refuel, whether it's because we feel guilty we don't do it, or we just don't want to go there, or status, whatever it is. We got to figure out why we struggle.
Right. You get so many people say, I struggle with my relationship. I'm tired. One last thought here, which I thought was compelling. They interviewed all these people, these parents, asking them if, you know, they actually interviewed these kids asking them, what was the one thing you'd love to have with your parents, you know, change about your parents, you know. And then they interviewed the parents what their kids' response would be, and 98% of them said they thought it would be more time with their kids, and that was completely wrong. 98% of them got it wrong. What the kids wanted is when mom and dad are there to be more in the moment and less stressed out and tired.
Wow.
And you think about that, and it's like it's not just the quantity of time; it's the quality of it. That says when we're able to do these things, when we're all in, we're more all in.
Yeah.
But we have to withdraw in order for you can't give what you don't have. I guess is the bottom line.
Yeah.
You know.
That's good.
So.
Yeah. That's some good stuff. That's interesting with that study with the kids, because I thought they were both going to say the same thing.
Yeah, didn't match up, and it was like, wow, that's really telling, because I know for me, being around my kids, especially when they were younger and being around, I know I was tired and preoccupied a lot.
Yeah, so then the kids are like, I don't want more time with them. I'd like less time with them.
Can't you go back to work, please, you know?
Yeah, I have a friend who just had to take a family retreat because he was kind of a workaholic. And that's what his kids wanted. Kids wanted a dad without technology and without, I mean, literally they went to a place that had no accessibility.
Right.
And
that's becoming more and more, like they have these retreats and they call them phone-free zones, or, you know, just for this period of time to help people with balance, you know.
Yeah.
It's tough because there's such great things. We live in a culture now that's the greatest, I think, to live in accessibility and connection through technology. But again, it's like everything else, it's a double-edged sword if we can't create the right boundaries to manage it and make the most of it, you know.
It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. We're going to have to end this now because I have a few emails I got to answer.
A couple text messages.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks. This is a great topic.
Yeah,
and thanks for being with us here on The Basics of Life. We always hope that we are helping you, as John has just tremendously helped me.
I've changed your life.
Changed my life. But thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.